The alchemist's last laugh. The world died screaming. Or perhaps it was reborn. The distinction mattered little to Dorian, whose laughter echoed through the sulphurous valleys of the shattered steppes like a cracked bell tolling doom. He wandered a land where the sky bled rust and the earth hissed underfoot, his boots leaving smoldering prints in soil poisoned by centuries of alchemical runoff. The air reeked of burnt sugar and rotting teeth, a perfume he inhaled deeply, savoring the tang of ruin. Prologue, the vat-born abomination. They pulled him from the elixir vat on a night when the moon wept pus-yellow light. The guild's masters, cowled in robes stitched from dissected lungs, peered into the frothing sludge and recoiled. The boy who clawed his way out was not a boy at all. His flesh shimmered like grease on a butcher's blade, veins pulsing with viridian phosphorescence. When he coughed, the floor tiles bubbled. When he cried, the tears ate through iron. The guild's grand alchemist, a skeletal thing with a voice like grinding glass, declared him a happy accident. Dorian's first act? Setting the man's beard aflame with a hiccup. Chapter 1, The Crucible of Cruelty. The guild's fortress loomed over the city of Vathis like a tumor, its walls sweating black ichor. Dorian's education was a liturgy of pain. At dawn, he knelt in the weeping cells, siphoning terror from prisoners whose minds had been unraveled by hallucinogenic vapors. Their screams condensed into vials of liquid anguish, which the alchemists distilled into poisons that could kill a man by showing him his own worst memory. At midday, the apprentices played spark tag in the crucible yard, a game of catch using unstable alchemical orbs. Dorian cheated, of course. He'd slip vials of lover's sigh into opponents' pockets, watching them convulse with rapturous death throes as their skeletons liquefied. By night, he wandered the dissolving library, its shelves sagging under grimoires bound in tattooed human hide. The air swam with motes of decaying parchment, each page dissolving as it was read. Here, Dorian discovered the Canticle of Unmaking, a hymn etched in the margins by some long-dead heretic. Its verses spoke of the blood moon's maw and the alchemy of empires turned to ash. He memorized every word, his fingers leaving acidic burns on the parchment. The scribe's fate. In the library's deepest vault, a nameless scribe chronicled his crimes. Her quill scratched warnings in ink mixed with her own blood. When Dorian found her, she was half translucent, her body devoured by the sentient ink she'd crafted. "You'll drown the world," she gargled, her voice pooling on the floor as black sludge. He bottled her remains and wore the vial around his neck, a muse for darker inventions. Chapter 2, Gallows Market's Rainbow Rot. Gallows Market had always been a festering wound. Its streets coiled beneath a canopy of hanged men, their boots picked clean by crows with iridescent feathers. Dorian arrived at dusk, his coat billowing with the stench of nitroglycerin and spoiled roses. He spilled a single drop of his self-propelling acid onto the cobblestones. The substance unfolded, branching through the market like crystalline roots, dissolving flesh and stone into kaleidoscopic slurry. A butcher named Eamon watched his daughter, Lissa, step into a puddle of the stuff. Her skin blossomed into liquid rainbows, her final scream a melody that cracked the butcher's mind like an egg. He followed Dorian for weeks, armed with a cleaver and a shard of infected glass, muttering prayers to gods who'd died choking on their own tongues. The guild's reckoning. The hollow men came at midnight, hulking golems of brass and rotting sinew, their bellies swollen with plague moths. They raised entire blocks, but Dorian greeted them with kingmaker powder. The resulting explosion left a crater shaped like a crown, its edges glittering with preserved wine glasses. The guild master, his chest cavity ticking like a bomb-laden clock, issued a final decree: "Bring me his heart. I wish to eat it." Chapter 3, The Symphony of Shattered Steppes. The steppes were a graveyard of dead civilizations, their bones ground into glassy shards by centuries of acid winds. Dorian traversed the wastes, his hair writhing with chemworms that glowed like emerald lightning. He slept in the carcasses of fallen war machines, dined on scorpions fermented in his own bile, and composed symphonies played on instruments made from his victims' remains. The Ballad of Three Villages. Hollow Spire, he flooded its wells with weeping light, turning the water into liquid laughter. The villagers drank greedily, their bodies ballooning into grotesque fireworks. Bleakmire, here, seeded the bogs with spores that sprouted singing fungi. Their lullabies drove the townsfolk to drown themselves, their corpses bobbing in time to the melody. Embervein, a mining town where he painted the caverns with luminescent mold. Miners followed the glow, only to find their shadows had gained teeth and hunger. Chapter 4, The Blood Moon Cocktail. Dorian's magnum opus required a canvas as vast as his spite. The blood moon hung low, a bloated orb veined with crimson rivers. He climbed the Tower of Screams, a spire built from petrified alchemists, and unleashed his masterpiece, a cannon forged from the guild's melted bells. The projectile? A cocktail of stolen divinity, the scribe's sentient ink, and every tear he'd ever stolen. The explosion painted the sky in colors that seared retinas. The moon rippled, its surface becoming a swirling maelstrom. Wine glasses across the continent shattered in unison. From the lunar surface, a voice boomed, not divine, but distinctly Dorian's, laced with manic glee, apologies for the noise. Do tip your bartenders. Epilogue, The Laughing Crater. The Alchemist's Guild is gone, replaced by a smoking pit that hums with dissonant harmonies. Pilgrims claim the crater whispers recipes for apocalypses. Some hear the scribe's voice, others the witch's curse. Dorian? He's already elsewhere, etching formulas onto the ribs of a leviathan carcass. In his wake, villages bloom into nightmares, kings clutch their chests expecting bombs, and the world learns to fear the sound of laughter. Final note, found clutched in a skeleton's hand near the crater's edge, written in Dorian's looping, acid-scarred script. Step 1, steal fire from gods. Step 2, add a pinch of tragedy. Step 3, light the match. Step 4, laugh. Always laugh. 1. Traitor's tears. Ingredients. Tears of a deposed ruler, collected during their successor's coronation. Powder from a meteorite that struck a church. Liver of a rat fed exclusively on lies. 3 drops of rain that never touched the earth. Effects. Creates a mist that forces inhalers to scream their deepest secret. Victims bleed from their ears, and their words materialize as living worms. Dorian's note. Added a hint of vanilla. Now smells like grandma's apple pie. Perfect for family reunions. 2. Waltz of unwoven shadows. Ingredients. Shadow ripped from an executed prisoner. 13 seconds of silence stolen from a suicide site. Dust from a mirror that witnessed a murder. Bile of an insomnia-plagued demon. Effects. Poured on a wall, it opens a portal to the dringer's nightmares. Objects inside develop desires, chairs bite, clocks weep. After 13 minutes, the portal starts walking. Dorian's note. Warning, do not test on an empty stomach. Last volunteer was adopted by his sofa. 3. Elixir of the Nameless. Ingredients. Drowning poet's last breath. Ash from a book erased from history. Mandrake root harvested during an eclipse. Blood that's written, not spoken, red ink. Effects. Drinkers become invisible to their own memories. Their body remains, but their identity dissolves like wet parchment. Loved ones see only a human-shaped void. Dorian's note. An excellent gift for mothers-in-law. Bonus, victims forget how to cry. 4. Stellar plague. Ingredients. Moon fragment stolen during an eclipse. Smallpox virus preserved in a mummy's eye. Ghost whale song, frozen in glass. Bone of an unfinished dream. Effects. Sprayed into the air, it infects victims with constellations. Organs turn to star patterns. Death comes only when someone points at their celestial liver. Dorian's note. Accidentally founded a cult. Worshippers pray to Bert's spleen from the Hell's Kitchen. Ah, science. 5. Laughter of the shattered doll. Ingredients. Saliva from a child who never cried. Pearl grown inside a drowned man's stomach. Sound of shattering hope, trapped in a bell. Flame lit by lightning struck in hatred. Effects. Makes objects mimic humans. Shoes walk alone, daggers gossip, and houses impersonate their dead owners. Lasts until the first deceitful tear falls. Dorian's note. Personal favorite, made a stool propose to the king. It now has a coat of arms. 6. Monarch maker's hangover. Ingredients. Crown rust filed during a coup. Vomit from a knight who ate his own honor. Echo of a revolution's first gunshot. Wine fermented in a philosopher's skull. Effects. Drinkers gain charisma to command armies, but their words rot teeth. Victory speeches melt listeners' bones. Side effect, permanent craving for molten gold. Dorian's note. Tested on a duke. He conquered 3 villages, then his tongue became a sentient slug. Success.